where, for example, it is indicated that Dr. Besigye was soliciting weaponry which could have caused harm to the life of the president. My view is that, for example, Dr. Besigye says it's not true. From what I'm hearing, he's saying it's not true. I'm sure President Museveni believes it's true. I believe that it is important for both of them to assemble in one session.
Okay.
Not to discuss politics, but to discuss threat of life.
Not to discuss politics, but discuss threat of life. What Henry Tumukunde is trying to do is to initiate conversations under which Dr. Besigye can be released in a separate setup. This is veiled loyalty and begging for Museveni to have mercy on Dr. Kizza Besigye. And why should this be an isolated incident? What if we broaden this selected matter to include other hundreds of political prisoners who have been abducted, many tortured, others disappeared, and hundreds killed?
Yes, it's not true that you people who oppose each other in politics are necessarily personal enemies.
It's not true that you people who oppose each other in politics are necessarily personal enemies. Let me welcome you to the world of Museveni. Bobi Wine is abducted. Bobi Wine is tortured. Museveni is told a report, and I'm quite certain, even before he was given a report, he's the one who commanded the abduction of Bobi Wine. Do you know what he responds? How he responds? I've seen Bobi Wine, but I think he's received some good beating. I don't know whom you're talking to.
You're watching Mordecai Marissa Live Political Commentary. Please consider subscribing to help grow Uganda's Voices of Struggle ecosystem. Thank you.
Very glad to be here on Mordecai Marissa TV.
I recently landed on a video, and it was General Henry Tumukunde giving comments about the continued incarceration of Dr. Kizza Besigye. And while on surface, what he suggests seem to be reasonable, if you really dig deep, you realize how hypocritical, opportunistic, and obsequious driven towards Museveni his point looks like. I'll play you this video and let's react to this together. Listen, he's trying to talk about the differences between Besigye and Museveni. Listen.
I want to lay very clear. First of all, the disagreement between Dr. Besigye and President Museveni is not new.
He says the disagreement between both, Museveni and Besigye is not new.
And it's also true that they are political opponents. They are not personal enemies.
These are political opponents. These are not personal enemies. Listen to that language.
So, the only thing that I am told is now new is the recording where, for example, it is indicated that Dr. Besigye was soliciting weaponry which could have caused harm to the life of the president. My view is that, for example, Dr. Besigye says it's not true. From what I'm hearing, he's saying it's not true. I'm sure President Museveni believes it's true. And I'm the only one who has the guts to discuss this subject.
Okay. A little bit of ego right there. I'm the only one who can discuss this subject. Keep going.
I believe that it is important for both of them to assemble in one session.
I believe it is important for both of them to assemble in one session. He's trying to call for an intermediary to discuss the differences. Remember, he just told you Museveni accuses Besigye of having been behind a plot of soliciting weaponry to end his life. That's what Museveni believes. Besigye doesn't believe it. But in his mind, he's telling us that probably someone should come and try to find ways of how these folks can end their differences. Here's the hypocrisy. Does he believe it? Because if Besigye was truly planning to kill President Museveni, what are those kind of negotiations going to look like?
Not to discuss politics, but to discuss threat of life. For both of them to assess. I'm the only one who has the guts to discuss this subject. I believe that it is important for both of them to assemble in one session.
Okay.
Not to discuss politics, but to discuss threat of life.
Not to discuss politics, but discuss threat of life. Threat of life. Whose life? And who is threatening the other? It is very easy to make those kind of sweeping statements, but let's try to break them down. Then do you believe the allegations that Dr. Kizza Besigye was soliciting weaponry to end or to threaten Museveni's life? Or you believe that Museveni is planning on ending Besigye's life, as it's been said by his Napo baby, Muhoozi Kainerugaba? See, there's some sort of a vague and nebulous language used here, and I believe it is deliberate. What Henry Tumukunde is trying to do is to initiate conversations under which Dr. Besigye can be released in a separate setup. This is veiled loyalty and begging for Museveni to have mercy on Dr. Kizza Besigye. This is Henry Tumukunde trying to say, you know what? There's what we call the rule of law. Ignore that and please feel merciful towards this man. It is legitimizing the breaking of the law of Mr. Museveni.
And the vice versa. So I am very, very sure that if this matter is discussed, that selected matter, you don't have to discuss whether they are going to agree in politics or disagree. That selected matter about threat of life, and then the fact that somebody says this is not a fact.
A selected matter. I mean, they're not going to discuss. What is he even trying to say? They're not going to try to discuss politics, but there's a selected matter which is referring to as a threat to life. Why would Besigye want to threaten Museveni's life? And why would Museveni want it? And why should this be an isolated incident? What if we broaden this selected matter to include other hundreds of political prisoners who have been abducted, many tortured, others disappeared, and hundreds killed?
You can call witnesses to sit by, and this is a topic that can be discussed and put on the side.
You can call people. This is a separate setup. Is trying to create a world where Museveni and Besigye sit on one table to discuss a separate. This is so hypocritical. It is selfish. And hey, am I faulting him? To a certain extent, no. He knows Dr. Kizza Besigye. They were together in the war. They might be even friends or even former friends. I understand. He might be feeling empathy and he might be considerate towards his friend. But you have to look at it in a broader perspective. What does this communicate?
I am experienced in having disagreements with President Museveni. I'm sure you know it's on record.
And I'll tell you why yours are not the same as Besigye's.
But whenever it matters, on some critical areas, we always sit and I give my views. he gives it.
No, that's not the case. This is you trying to convince us that way. The thing is, every time you have differences with Museveni, you end up capitulating. You cave. Caving to Museveni out of fear and probably out of negotiation that give you some personal gains, you end up changing your position. Now, Besigye in that position because he won't cave, he won't capitulate, he won't wave the white flag.
And I think this can be healthy for the continuation of democracy in this country.
Continuation of democracy. For the continuation of democracy in this country. Democratic dictatorship. That's what you mean. There's nothing like democracy. Come on. What democracy abducts a political opponent from a foreign country, flies them? What democracy are you referring to that abducts, tortures, and kills people? What type of democracy that deploys jackbooted thugs to go and beat up members of parliament? What type of democracy are you referring to? The continuity of democracy. What do you mean, Henry Tumukunde?
Yes, it's not true that people who oppose each other in politics are necessarily personal enemies.
It's not true that you people who oppose each other in politics are necessarily personal enemies. That's what he says. I mean, let me welcome you to the world of Museveni. Bobi Wine is abducted. Bobi Wine is tortured. Museveni is told a report, and I'm quite certain, even before he was given a report, he's the one who commanded the abduction of Bobi Wine. Do you know what he responds? How he responds? I've seen Bobi Wine, but I think he's received some good beating. I don't know whom you're talking to. I don't know. This is why I tell you that, this is so selfish. Because it is complete disregarding of so many factors that we have raised in our campaign against the regime of Mr. Museveni.
That part, I say it without doubt, that a discussion where there are also third parties can solve that aspect of
is calling for a third party.
the disagreement.
Okay.
That doesn't mean Dr. Besigye will join NRM. It doesn't mean President Museveni will join the new party is called PFF.
Now, when he says that, that doesn't mean that Besigye will join NRM and Museveni joining PFF. He's trying to say this separate, setup where Museveni and Besigye discusses some stuff, they will only talk about personal stuff. Because the conversation should be rooted in changing your perspective on the direction our country is being driven into.
Really. But aspects that are personal can be discussed.
Aspects that are personal. Remember, at the beginning of this video, he said he doesn't believe that these are personal differences. But now he ends up contradicting himself, saying that, aspects that are personal. And what personal aspects is he referring to? You all know you had Winnie Byanyima saying that he once dated Museveni. So many people believe that it is that some sort of a vendetta. Besigye probably having some sort of a bizarre nostalgia about what happened between the two. And he carries that. I mean, it is so wrong that this man is just, looking at Besigye's incarceration as some sort of an isolated case. And he doesn't even stop there. He goes on to reduce the long-standing political conflict between the two to some sort of a mere personal vendetta or grudge. This helps Mr. Museveni. And I won't be surprised. I mean, he's wearing a cap of NRM. Because in the end, what does this give birth to? It whitewashes Museveni's years of repression, and it effectively legitimizes Museveni's ruthless assault on opposition voices. Because if these folks sit together in a separate setup to discuss the breaking of the law, the abduction of a political opponent from a foreign country, then when are we going to have conversations about why this shouldn't happen? These are soft seekers, masking themselves as peaceful, driven individuals who want to see Besigye granted his freedom.
And also, I think that's the point I want to raise.
It doesn't make any sense.
Now, it is important that both parties, and I offered when I talked to the people of Kunji some time back, that I'm willing to talk to both sides of the equation.
I am willing to talk to both sides of the equation. He wants to be the one negotiating. They think this is personal. Can we... let's pause here. Let me give you an example of what Besigye says actually. Listen.
State of Uganda, then called the National Resistance Army,
Correct.
captured the state of Uganda and actually made a declaration to that effect that on this day the National Resistance Army has captured the instruments of power in Uganda and vested that power in the national resistance movement. So power was taken over by the military.
This is what Besigye has been raising. Can we get to a point where Tumukunde addresses these complaints from Dr. Kizza Besigye?
However, what has not been clearly visible is that the military, having taken over power, was also captured by the family of Mr. Museveni.
The military was captured by the family of Mr. Museveni. These are at the core, these are the hallmarks of the complaints of Dr. Kizza Besigye. It is not the personal vendetta, as General Tumukunde wants to, to allege or paint the picture.
So we have actually family rule.
Exactly.
And that's why members of his family, even who don't have any significance in terms of the power structure, still wield the most power in the country, like his brother Salim Saleh.
His brother Salim Saleh, with no specific position within the Museveni cabinet, but he wields power more than the vice president, the prime minister, the attorney general, and the chief justice combined. This doesn't sound like it is personal. He's addressing the most controversial and huge complaints from the vast majority of Ugandans. Does Tumukunde address this? No. I think it is personal. So, does Besigye has personal issues with Salim Saleh, Keleba Kandwanao? Absolutely not. So, this guy, and I'll come back to that. This guy's sort of tired of, wanting to portray him as a prince of peace that wants to mediate the two sides of the aisle. It's just opportunistic.
And if there is a willingness to discuss this subject, that aspect about threat of life, and then the fact that somebody says it's not a fact. Because these discussions, why do Palestinians discuss with Israelis? Are you sure they don't have major conflicts?
And tell us, has there been everlasting peace between the Israelites and Palestinians?
They do. Very, very deep major conflicts.
It is because some sides won't allow what should be allowed or accepted. This is what I'm trying to say. This is my territory. Do not take it. And this say, no, I'll take it. So you can have 1 billion negotiations as you're trying to suggest. But until the core questions of those negotiations are answered.
Religious, I don't know, doctrinal, many, but they still sit and discuss. Yes, I'm not saying each one has to surrender their own position in politics. I'm only saying that those aspects that, for example, include threat to life can be discussed and resolved. Once that is done, I am convinced beyond reasonable doubt that the path of democracy and the path of furthering politics in this country can continue.
The path of furthering democracy and politics in this country. Look, these folks usually talk, there's always hypocrisy, double standards. I want you to let me give you an example of Janet Museveni, chairperson of Ntungamo, NRM, Ntungamo, whatever, offices in Ntungamo, NRM offices in Ntungamo. And listen to what she says. She's going to make comments about peace in Uganda.
Stress that nation building. Mrs. Museveni, who also serves as NRM chairperson for Ntungamo district, stressed that nation building requires unity and cooperation. She further condemned the contestation and the chaotic standoff between supporters of Bitahiro Sebastian, LC3, chairperson for Regina Hero Sub-County, and Asman Chigo, selection of Secretary for Finance, and left many NRM supporters in Ntungamo divided.
Building a nation is exactly like building a family home. Both require unity.
Both require unity. And how do you build that unity? By making sure that some of the folks who are going to bring materials to build this house are killed. Because in this metaphorical house Janet is trying to refer to, some of the folks who are supposed to help build this house are being abducted, are being killed, are being tortured, others disappeared. But we have a mission to finish this house by uniting. What is she trying to say?
When you refuse to unite at the family level, you cannot build a home.
When you refuse to unite at a family level, absolutely. There's only one group of folks in Uganda who abduct, who torture, who kill, who brazenly attack voices of dissent, who crack down onto voices of dissent. And it is the same group that talks about unity. I mean, I'll torture you, but at the same time, I'll ask you to be my friend. Make it make sense.
That applies to a nation also. People refuse to unite and work together, they cannot build a nation.
People refuse to unite and work together, they cannot build a nation. I hope you can read these words to Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, your husband. He doesn't care about unity. I mean, you've heard him say, we shall crush you. I am the master of violence. Group ya Kyagulanyi tujja kugimalawo, nja kugimalawo. That language, does that sound like language of unity coming from your husband? This is hypocrisy from Janet Museveni, preaching water and drinking wine.
The First Lady was addressing over 500 NRM delegates from the 34 sub-counties and town councils in Ntungamo district who converge on the NRM district executive committee.
Many of these people here are younger people, so it is possible that you don't know where Uganda has come from. It was
again, I mean, the Luganda Sibagamba, mbulira gwoyita naye nkubulira empisa zo. Tell me who you hang out with, and I'll tell you your character, and I'll tell your character. She goes on, just like the husband, to lecture us about where Uganda came from. Listen.
Because of refusing to unite our younger people.
Okay.
So it is possible that you don't know where Uganda has come from. It was because of refusing to unite as leaders of this nation that Uganda had to go through a very turbulent past.
You can go on and say that turbulent past was engineered by my husband. Uganda lost over 100,000 people to 500,000, others say to 1 million people in a Lowero war that was led by your husband. So it is very important to look in the mirror. Every time you refer to the turbulent times, you understand who was at the center of this turbulency.
Have to remember that your children require a peaceful country.
Your children require a peaceful country, but my husband abducts Machete, but my husband abducts Olivia Lutale, but my husband and my son, they torture Kakwenza Ruchirabashija and they gloat about it. They order the abduction of Eddie Mutwe and they are happy. I won't even say nothing. You have your own son, abduct someone, gloats about it. You do not even pretend to lead some sort of reconciliation and forgiveness strategies, and you don't. You hide yourself probably under the State House basement where you don't even say a thing while your son commits crimes. But now you're here preaching peace to us. Hello, First Lady.
Therefore, ntwenda kwombeka obusinge obwentura.
We want to build everlasting peace. Yak. How I wish these folks meant what they say. How I wish they were able to look themselves in the mirror. You become an opponent to Obusinje Obwentura the moment you recognize yourself as the only vision bearer, that you cannot let other people lead a nation to a future. And this is what you and your husband have done. 40 years. And now you want to run for 5 more years, and that will be 45 years in power. But you're talking about Obusinje Obwentura, everlasting peace. What, Janet? What's up?
She reminded the NRM leaders that to be a leader requires to accept to serve people as servants.
But your husband says, I am not anybody's servant. Okay?
And not rulers. She also said everyone should remember that they are responsible for safeguarding the peace they are enjoying today.
Safeguarding the peace they are enjoying today. Okay. The peace that only allows you to criticize the opposition, and when you criticize Genety, then that peace is taken away. Now, you people, we have to remember that we want to build Obusinje Obwentura. Janet Kataha Museveni, charlatan. What do you think? I mean, go on and write in the comment section. What do you think about all this? Look, all I read from Janet Kataha Museveni and General Henry Tumukunde is hypocrisy, soft seekers, opportunism, lies, and a facade of wanting to show that they care about the continued illegal incarceration of Dr. Kizza Besigye, or even the future of a country you call home, Uganda. Now, and I can tell you this, you can know that all I'm saying is nothing but the truth. Because if I said this, if I was in Uganda and I said this about that lady, I would be abducted, I would be tortured, I would be killed. Oh, how can you say this about Marie Antoinette, our Marie Antoinette? You can't say that about her. People are criticized, jailed, prisoned. They're imprisoned for only saying one thing: she has big feet. And that's a big thing. You cannot say that about the First Lady. Why would you? It's like somebody talking about any body feature of saying, oh, Monica, you have, what can I say? You have a short beard. Oh, okay, arrest him because I want a longer beard. What? And this has happened in Uganda. And she wants to preach peace. Oh, and God. Come on, Janet Kataha Museveni. Stop your games.
Did you enjoy what you just watched?
I'm sure they did.
I'm going to guess that you did. How about you consider subscribing to Mordecai Marissa Live YouTube channel? Thank you.